Hi, Dairín.
Hi, Diana. How are you?
Welcome to my podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted.
Glamorous, yeah. For me, it's an excuse to talk to people.
Well, I love talking to people too. So,
Fantastic. We're gonna have a great time. And the framework, we just had a little chat there in advance, but I forgot to say that I try to kind of keep it in within 30, 40 minutes maximum, just to,
great.
I think, be respectful of our time. I'm sure you have a busy day. I have
Yeah,
to run and collect the kids at 1. And our listeners, I think, are used to that kind of frame, so they
yeah.
can plan their, whether they want to take us with them for a walk or whatever they're doing
Okay.
for dinner. This is the kind of framework I've been working with time wise. But so nice. I really appreciate your taking the time and coming on my podcast. So thank you for that.
I feel very privileged to be asked. So, thank you.
So please introduce yourself to our listeners and what you do and where you are based.
Okay. So well, my name is Dairín. So, it's an old Irish name called,
Yeah.
which means little oak. So, I have a coaching business which I named Oakleaf Coaching.
Wow.
um, because oak obviously has a big meaning for me in my life all the time. So I am living in Dublin, in North County Dublin, and but I have clients all over the place now because
Yeah.
since the pandemic, everything has moved to Zoom. So although initially I was kind of reluctant to start using Zoom because I was a bit nervous about it, it's allowed me to build up my business so much more because I can coach people wherever they are, and it's great, and it's it gives real privacy and quiet time to reflect rather than busy workplaces or meeting people in busy places. So it's actually worked out really well. So
Fantastic.
that's what I do.
Thank you very much. You find actually now that you touched on that kind of privacy and quiet space, and because I'm starting this work, and in fairness, I like because I'm only in the last year, I did loads of practice over Zoom, so I haven't actually. I think once or twice I've only seen people face to face. So,
Okay.
but from your experience, do you feel people are more themselves or more open on things they want to work on in a face-to-face environment or on Zoom, or does it make any difference, do you think?
I suppose initially I thought it would make a difference, but I don't think it does. I think you can build up a great rapport. I mean, we've only met over Zoom, and we have great
Yeah,
rapport. You can build up great rapport with people, um, and it does. I think because it is face to face. I mean, if
yeah,
you were meeting somebody at the moment during a pandemic, you'd be sitting 2 meters apart. You'd both be wearing masks. You'd have all these other barriers. Whereas at the moment, when you're on Zoom, you just have a screen. That's all, and you forget about the screen really, and you're just talking to the person. So I think it works really well, and I think people are very open and willing to share. Once
I
it's just
agree.
one on one. So
I definitely agree. And in a way, I suppose it will be hybrid that we'll be meeting face to
yeah,
face. This, but in a way, for me personally, I feel the safety of my me being in my house is actually quite comforting. So if I'm kind of approaching things that are topics that are difficult for me, I feel safe in my environment and I feel open to talk
yeah,
about them. But sometimes we do need to kind of cross that threshold into somebody's office or somebody's practice to
yeah.
feel, welcomed in their environment and kind of feel like, okay, I'm here to do this work or this topic or whatever the case is. So it will be a balance of both, isn't it?
It is, and for coaching a lot, we would meet on neutral territory, so that you don't have the familiarity of your surroundings,
Mm,
as in you don't get distracted with things. So you don't get distracted with work or with what's going on at home or things like that. So you meet on neutral territory. Um, so there's advantages to both sides, and some things might work better for some clients than others. So I am definitely looking forward to meeting people again and not seeing them just from here up. It will be nice.
yes. Oh, and like that. especially for relationship or friendships that we formed over the internet. I have another group of friends that I've created over the last few months, and we talk about meeting, and we joke how random and weird it will be. And we were joking about each other's heights. How high are you actually? Because when I meet you, are you gonna be over me? So it's gonna be this
Yeah.
exactly like the Wrigley's ad. Did you see that chewing gum ad?
No, no.
Oh, I'm gonna send it to you. It's like everybody kind of appearing out of their houses and meeting and kind of
Okay.
going, oh my God, what do you look like?
I know it is actually, and that is it's going to be very strange to meet people that you haven't met in person before, but that you know really well. It's great.
Exactly.
It's like
Yeah.
having a pen friend
Yeah.
before years ago that you never meet, and then all of a sudden be like, "Oh, okay, you look totally different to what I imagined." So it's a bit like
We're
that.
all going through our own version of online dating, I think.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad I'm past that bit.
Anyway, back to what I wanted to ask you about. How did you arrive to this career or the profession that you do? And also, I'm curious to find out of why you decided on a self-employed and kind of being a freelance as opposite to being part of an organization. So, would you mind sharing that?
Sure. So I suppose growing up, I wasn't really sure what aspect of work I wanted to get involved in, but it was always going to be people centered. Um, so initially, I studied hotel management in Galway, 4 of the best years of my life. It was brilliant. I made great friends along the way there, and I worked in hotels for a few years, many years, and actually met my husband in France through working in hotels. So built up so many of my most important relationships were built up through this. Um, so from working generally in hotels, I moved into HR in one of the last hotels. So I worked in HR for 2 different hotels. Um, Again, just because I was driven to the people, and even though you're very customer centered in hotels, I wanted to deal with the people working in the hotels rather than the clients or rather than the customers. So I went into HR and I loved it, and worked as a HR manager for about 4 years in hotels before I moved on. But what I loved about HR was seeing the potential that people had. And even at interview stage, you interview somebody and they mightn't have the experience of what they're going to do, but you'd see that they had the potential or they had the desire to do it, or they really, there was something in them, that X factor. And I loved employing people like that all the time, that you kind of could see that they had something to bring. So I did that, and then I moved from there into becoming a practice manager in GP surgeries, and I did that for over 15 years. So again, very people focused, working in healthcare, but dealing with a small group, much smaller group of employees. And I really like that. I love building up a good team, and team spirit. It was so important to me, having a good working environment and helping people to develop themselves in a good working environment. So that led me to coaching, because it was always going to happen at some point. I just didn't know the word for it. I knew
Yeah,
I
you were
wanted to
doing
do.
it all along.
Yeah, I was leading towards this. I had considered becoming a counselor for quite a while, and then I was actually coached, and I thought, well, this is it. This is what I actually want. I loved the promise and the positivity that coaching brings to somebody's life. So you can help people realize what their potential is and bring them on their own journey to fulfilling that. And it just is so motivating for me to see people suddenly realize what they have and what they are. that they don't need to be anything but themselves to realize their potential. It's great. Yeah, so I love that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Where was the drive to be a freelancer, be working for yourself?
Well, I suppose I think I always wanted to work for myself. There was always something in me that wanted my own business. And when the time was right, so I did work part-time. I kind of phased myself out of employment into coaching. So I was doing both for a couple of years before I took the plunge and went full-time. And that was like a lot of different life factors involved in that, our children are now teenagers, so they're a little bit less dependent on us for certain things, although we live in the country, so they're still dependent on lifts everywhere. But it allowed me a bit more freedom, to be able to work. So when kids are in secondary school, you definitely have a longer day that you can work your own life around. So, but I think I always wanted to be somehow self-employed. Over the years, it was always ideas in my head how I could do that. So I got the two of them together, coaching and self-employment. Great.
Fantastic. And in regards to that journey and the different changes or challenges that might have happened, how do you find your approach of when you're having a plan and the steps are lined up, but things don't go as you planned, or life throwing a curveball? Do you find yourself doubting, or what is your kind of respond first and your techniques maybe of dealing with those challenges?
Well, that has changed dramatically over the years.
Okay.
So I suppose years ago, I would have been a real worrier. I was always worried about things going wrong, and I had some kind of part of me felt that if I thought about every situation that might happen in a negative way, and if I planned for them all, then they wouldn't happen. So, but all I was doing was just wasting my energy on all of these things instead of putting all my energy into trying to make sure that things had a positive outcome. But I was very self-doubting, and that's what leads you to kind of work on trying to sort out, have all the answers ready before things go wrong. And it took a long time and a lot of years for me to realize that I didn't have to have all the answers. If things go wrong, I don't need to be able to jump in with the solution straight away. And I don't have to have the solutions myself all the time either. So, and it was a lot of how I changed was when I was doing the coaching courses that I did, because you really have to examine yourself through that, and realize what you're good at and what you think you might be good at sometimes. And one of the things that I was great at was communicating with myself in my own head and not speaking to the people involved. So I would work out, well, I can't do this because they wouldn't want me to do this, until I was asked, how do you know that? Have you asked them? No. So why don't you? So opening up communication and not, instead of having all these internal conversations, having them out loud. So if a challenge comes up, realizing that you're not the only person that has to solve it, that you can take time, that nobody is expecting you to have all the answers all of the time. So it took me a long time to realize that.
Is there a particular technique or a practice that is it something that you arrive at, or do you have to work on it every day, or how is it for you?
Well, I suppose like anything, some days are easier than others, and sometimes my mindset will be much more in tune with what I want. Then other days I might wake up and it might be a bit more of okay, I have to make an effort here. But I think being aware of it, first of all. So if I kind of feel that there's a challenge ahead and my mindset is not in the right place, I would probably read. I have a lot of books that I would read that about positive psychology and about things like that, and maybe meditate, take a walk. So walking. We've a couple of dogs, so I could go out and walk outside with dogs and just clear my head. And I often feel that when I'm walking, I get much more clarity of thought, and answers will come to me quicker rather than going around and around in stressful circles in my head. Yeah, just taking time. Sometimes different things will work at different stages in your life, or not everyone has the luxury of being able to walk outside, and they have other responsibilities that take time, and sometimes it's very hard to get space for your head. Just think things through.
Yeah, that's it. That, I suppose, compassion for yourself, where you are, what situation and what moment of your life, what's happening, and just the next small step. What is just one small step you can do? It doesn't have to be, a big plan. Just one small step towards what feels more comfortable for you, or what will give you more space or time.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people see their end goal as their next step, and it's not. Their end goal is their end goal, and they have to just take baby steps towards that. And once you're moving in the right direction, then you're making progress.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
What about joys and the good moments, or in everyday moments? Do you find yourself, you stop and reflect on those, or are you? I think most of us will be like that end goal, and I'm gonna keep the head down until I get there. But when you get there, you're like, is this it?
No, you're moving forward all the time.
Just I have no time. I'm just the next one. Okay, tick and go. So I find I don't necessarily stop to reflect and enjoy the moment. What is your approach to celebrating joys?
Yeah, well, again, it's changed over the years. Before, I would have been very much like that, always thinking about what's next. But now, and maybe it's an age thing, I don't know, but maybe I'm getting older. My biggest joy is the people that I have around me. I just have, I'm so blessed with my family, my husband, my kids. My parents are well and they live next door to me. And I have a brother and sister, and we're all really close. And I take great joy in spending time with people, and with the people in my family and some friends. But just sitting and having a laugh over dinner or over a coffee with the important people in my life is just so lovely. And I'm very mindful at times like that, how privileged I am to have them. Yeah. But it's a practice. It's a kind of realizing, instead of meeting somebody for a coffee and thinking, okay, after this I have to go and do the shopping, or just sit and have your coffee with that person and be present. But it takes, you have to make a deliberate point of being present. That takes time and practice. Yeah.
That's a really, really good point. That kind of setting the intention of what I'm doing right now, and focusing on it, and seeing the joy in it, and reaping the benefits of it, or whatever the situation is. Yeah.
Like I always think of it as building memories as well, because when you think of growing up, or there's certain things that really stick in your mind. And I think when you're really being mindful, and when you really look around at who's beside you or who's around you, that becomes a memory, and a really happy memory to have.
Yeah, definitely taking those snapshots.
Yeah.
And settling in.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Brilliant. And in regards to your work, I'm really curious, and I was keen to encourage people to see your work and see your approach, and get to know you over this conversation. So what is your approach, or what is your style of work that you bring in when somebody works with you?
So I coach as myself. So I am, and that's what the only way to be, but
Yeah.
so many people don't don't realize that being authentic is so important. And I am just me, and I am just me that happens to coach people, and I love to coach people towards that goal themselves, being able to be authentic and trust themselves with the decisions that they have to make and really accept themselves for who they are. And that is in, like, it's not specifically that agenda, but it would be, and whatever agenda they come to me with, that's the basis really, is like understanding who you are and what makes things work for you, and being happy about who you are and what your choices are, and making the right choices for you. And so it's about realizing, giving clients clarity and time to sit and listen to what their mind and their heart is telling them that they need to do. And in a certain way, trying to remove all the fear of judgments, because so many people live their life with these layers around them of, well, I can't, it's all based on what other people think, and people will judge no matter what we do. So let them, and be yourself, because if you're yourself, then you're not failing, you're being you. And that sounds very simple, but it takes a lot of courage and a lot of time for a lot of people to realize that you don't have to try and be anybody else but yourself, and realize your own potential. And I would work a lot with people like that. Taking time off the hamster wheel of life is what we would talk about. People are just so busy doing things rather than being. Yeah, ticking boxes every day, and then getting up the next day to tick all the same boxes again. And there's absolutely an element of that in everybody's life. There has to be, because we do have families to feed, and responsibilities and compromises to be made all the time. But when you're more comfortable with yourself and trust what you're doing, then you naturally will build in more time for yourself in a day, no matter how impossible that might seem. It's always possible to build a little bit of time in to just be.
Yeah, I think for me personally, it seems impossible because you're stressed out, you're in that phase of, you know, working, running, being busy.
Yeah.
But when I take the moment, I do it through tapping or through talking to somebody or through writing or whatever the case is. So it's very individual, I think, for everybody what will happen.
Absolutely.
But it's just to take that moment and you step away from that situation, and then you see you're more calm and you're more relaxed and you see it with a clarity.
Yeah.
And having somebody like you to talk to and have a perspective or a soundboard,
Yeah.
a wonderful asset.
Yeah, I think like what I said earlier about having conversations out loud rather than in your head,
Yeah.
it gives so much more clarity to your whole life. And when you're working with a coach, you can just say what you need to say. There's no judgment. So it's a different it's a conversation on a different level, and it allows people to really explore what they want.
Do you
It's
find
quite
that
liberating.
you have to convince people that coaching is not a luxury? It's not some kind of exclusive service that you have to be, I don't know, a director or a CEO, and now I need coaching because I need to do whatever the next step is. How do you, I suppose, explain it or convince people, what would you be your approach to saying who needs coaching, or who what phase of you have to be in to look for you as a advice or a coach?
Well, coaching, like you wouldn't advise through coaching. It's really just it's allowing people to explore their options. Everybody needs a coach, and it's totally true. But there's a lot of misconceptions out there about what coaching is, and some people see it as a luxury. Some people dismiss it totally, and they're the people that probably need it more, because it's only until you have been coached, or you know somebody who has been coached and you see the results, that you actually think, oh, okay, this is actually for anybody at any time in their life. It's transformative. It can be transformative. It allows people to really start taking control and making their own choices in life, rather than just going along on the hamster wheel or in the flow, and then one day looking back and realizing, what have I done? It makes people kind of sit up and take notice and realize that it's life that's a luxury, and you want to spend it in the best possible way for you, and what in a meaningful way for you, because everyone's life has different meaning to them. Some people needs are different, like everybody's needs are different, and everybody's wants are different. So it's about just allowing people to be free to make to take control of their life, and to realize that the choices that they have to make, and the things that are a choice. So many people will say, oh, aren't you lucky? But it's, as a very good friend of mine said to me, it's not about luck, it's about the choices that you make.
Yeah. And Dairín, how can somebody approach you? Is it a one-on-one sessions? Is it a course? What is your approach to working with clients?
I really only work one-on-one with people. I think it allows people to really be much more open, and giving. I like to work. It suits me too, because I really love to work with people on a one-to-one basis and allow them the time and space they deserve. So, and other people working in groups can work for other people as well. So it's a very personal choice for clients as to what kind of approach they want. So, but I would work strictly only one-to-one. Yeah.
And is it how many sessions, or is it very individual depending on where the client is and what they want to achieve or find the results? What is your kind of not routine, but would it be one session, 5 sessions? What do you normally see?
So I would always say a minimum of 4 sessions.
Okay.
And then it can continue on after that, or I have clients who take sessions 4 at a time, and then they go off about their life, and they might come back to me 6 months later for another 4, or just it's a lot to do with accountability, and people will make more progress if they feel kind of accountable to somebody, and coaching allows them that kind of neutral accountability, that it's not a family member, it's not a friend, it's somebody who is going to hold them accountable, but who they have built up good rapport with.
Definitely, I think the commitment that even you signing up for this journey of 4 sessions in a row, you see it more as a path rather than a once-off. And sometimes we need, a once-off or whatever the case is, but I think that commitment of some sessions in advance, you feel like it's a body of work that will be done.
Yeah, and you make yourself promises that you'll have, by the next time we meet again, you'll have done this or done that, and so it does make you kind of keep moving forward, and it becomes more of a habit then over time, that you're moving forward and making progress. So it works for that. Yeah.
Fantastic. And would your clients be professionals, sports people, parents, or what is your variety?
I have quite a varied client base. I do a lot of work with GPs actually because of my career beforehand. But then I would have all different levels of profession and different people from different backgrounds, or parents or people wanting to go back to work or looking for what career they should be in. And it's really it's the variety that I love actually, is, you know, talking to people and helping them find out what it is they're looking for.
Yeah, definitely career choice is one thing that stroke, is really important, and
Yeah,
it is something that we never really spend time as a work to be done. And I feel very strongly in the past about kids and this career advisor in school, and talking to friends. It was kind of like, oh no, it's just a teacher that no longer wants to teach, so just moves on to the role. And like, not to dismiss it, obviously we all have different values, but I just felt like it has to be a vital role in the
yeah,
school, or it has to be part of the curriculum where there's a
yeah,
subject we discuss what are your strengths, or what are your desires, or what are your, and it's not that you have to have an answer, but you explore it in that
yeah,
work, in that body, or you have a safe space. So it definitely career choices and
yeah.
discussions are.
I think career guidance in schools has become a lot more structured, and they are kind of more qualified to work like that now. Um, I think it's an age thing though. You know, 16, 17-year-olds deciding what they want to do for the rest of their life is it's really difficult. I mean, when you look at my, I had no idea. I went to do hotel management, moved from that to HR, moved from that to general management, and then moved on to coaching. So it was a work in progress for many years. And some people are lucky and they go on to study something straight after school, but lots of people change their career, and that's okay.
Yeah, exactly, normalize that too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, lots of people decide 10 years in that it's actually not what they wanted, and there's always options and ways to go about getting more of a balance into what it is that you do want to do.
Especially how society is changed and how jobs are changing and moving, and new careers or new professions are constantly emerging. So
Absolutely.
it's just that kind of flexibility or fluidity that
Yeah,
we need to adopt and welcome.
yeah. I mean, with artificial intelligence and all these developments in the world, some jobs aren't going to exist anymore and new jobs will. So I think children and teenagers now are going to be a lot more resilient and a lot more flexible in what they do throughout their lives, and it's a good thing,
Yeah,
that they can develop as their life develops, their career can develop too. Good. Yeah.
fantastic. Dairín, I really enjoy our conversation. Thank you so much. Please
Thanks, Boyan.
share how people can get in contact with you if they would like to work with you or just find out
Yeah.
more about your work.
Yeah, well, I'm on Facebook and Instagram at Oakleaf Coaching, and I have my website is oakleafcoaching.com. So all my details are there for anyone if they want to give me a call. I'm always happy to have a quick Zoom chemistry check, what we call, online with people, just to see whether we could work together. So I'm always happy to do that with people who might like to explore coaching.
Fantastic. Thank you so
Thanks
much.
very much. You're
I
very
really
welcome.
enjoyed the
Thank you.
conversation, and have a beautiful day. I'll talk to you soon.
See you soon. Take care.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye bye.